We have two great speeches coming up. The first, I'm pleased to introduce our CEO and president of the Prostate Cancer Foundation, Dr. Jonathan Simons. Gosh, Jonathan, I think I've actually now spent more time with you than Bill Nelson and Charles Sawyers, which is, what a privilege that is. I think Jonathan and I have a very, very wonderful relationship. We spend an hour or two a week talking about operational things behind a door. And on Friday mornings, my most coveted time, Jonathan comes with a stack of publications. I have a stack of publications, and every 15 seconds we feed from a fire hose. And, you know, having a relationship with a physician scientist at that level has just been about the best thing that's ever happened in my career. So I consider myself fortunate to introduce you today, Jonathan, our president, CEO, our inspiration, our energy. And we're just so happy that we've had you now for nearly 10 years. And I look forward to your comments today.
That was a beautiful introduction, and I hope in my remarks, when I get to the etymology of the word together, you'll think about Howard Sewell, because he is what together is for our scientific community. I would absolutely. Let's see. I'm, in my presidential address this year, going to answer 12 questions succinctly. First, who is here? Well, from the board of directors, the chairman and founder, Michael Milken, Chris Evanson, the Reverend Rosie Greer, Stuart Holden, Art Kern, Henry Nordoff, Paul Volante, Jeff Zisk, Stein Eric Hagen, Ralph Feinerman, and we have a number of PCF donors and partners. We're so grateful to the Burns and the Abramowitzes and Molly Globus from PCF Israel and Mark Buzza, and of course Mark Hedstrom and Adam Garoni. Who also is here is the Vice President in spirit. He asked for a rain check, but he did give us a shout out in New Orleans in front of 14,000 cancer researchers when he said PCF is the model for the Moonshot. It limits grant applications to 10 pages, lets the scientists decide what the funding ought to be, and the funding goes out in 90 days. And in fact, we're a heavy component, a pillar of the Moonshot, which I'll discuss later in our Veterans Precision Oncology program. But who else is here is the 23rd Annual Global Knowledge Exchange. And that is 171 MDs, 92 MD PhDs, 220 PhDs, down to 5 PharmDs, 11 MBAs, 1 lawyer, which is a ratio of effector, I won't say tumor, effector investigator ratio of 1 to about 556. But we have investigators from 17 countries. We have 124 from industry, 378 from academia, and 102 cancer centers or academic centers, and a new indoor record of 48 biopharmaceutical companies, including many generous retreat supporters. When Michael Milken said that he would change this field, axiomatically, it was to create a community that included biotech, pharma, investment, as well as the world's great universities and foundations. This is not a slide for the sight impaired, but who also is here is now 204 PCF young investigators and the leading young investigators. And a few simple pieces of data about the 204. Dr. Holden's presenting at our board meeting. 96% remain in academic institutions over a decade. 35% obtain a tenure-track position, listen, following the receipt of their award. 77% of young investigators have been promoted since receiving their award. And really, quite profoundly, if you plot it, as Dr. Holden and Andre Miyahira did, there's now $462 million of biomedical research from these young investigators out of the $43 million that we invested, which got matched by your institutions. Without a doubt, there's still opportunity. 27% of our team science is actually led by young investigators who graduated, so to speak. We have 24 young investigators who are PIs or co-PIs on Challenge Awards. 3 are women, and we expect more opportunities in terms of diversity and opportunity. We had our first annual PCF Women in Science Networking Forum in 2016 here. What else is at the scientific retreat? Well, we have had 154 abstracts. We'll have 52 presentations. We had a young investigator leadership forum. And of course, we've had 12 breakout meetings. This has become the Davos of side meetings that really matter to move our field amidst the actual true knowledge exchange, which is the scientific retreat. And like the Hotel California, you can check in, but you can never leave. 23 years after I was the most junior in the back of a much smaller room, I'm still learning on this job about what it means to be a good leader and a thoughtful leader. And to date myself, at the first scientific retreat, the laser pointer was 14 inches. It was state of the art. They used film, and it was black and white. Question 3 is, what is in the PCF Global Research Enterprise portfolio right now? Well, it's in total over 2,000 projects, 200 institutions in 19 countries, more than 670 million raised. And importantly, where is the money? Well, right now, there are actually $109 million in 265 active research awards, 66 active team science awards, 120 young investigators are at work right now along their 3 years of funding or on extension. We've got 79 individual innovator awards. And we had with Andrea Miyahira and Howard and you, 117 one-hour telephonic, teleconferenced, or video conference knowledge exchanges using PowerPoint format and unpublished data, making us also, I think, the most formidable community of unpublished data exchange, I think, in biomedical science now. 5th question is, what happened in 2016? Well, firstly, prostate cancer became a nucleotide repair problem. The Pritchard and Nelson New England Journal paper is seminal with that massive team, important team. But basically, prostate cancer, germline, and heredity has been redefined. We have cascade genetic counseling coming for the children, the women, young women, as well as young men who are the offspring of carriers now of a whole set of germline mutations that we still have to better define. And of course, what are the gene-environment interactions to intercept and detect and to drug? Well, this is a brand new frontier. Quite ahead of his time, as usual, Mike Milken used the medium of the day, which was Larry King in television, and asked in the late 1990s if you would dial 1-800 if you wanted to volunteer your family for genetic studies when we were doing linkage analysis. And PCF has always been forward-looking in terms of technology and media, but now with social media and the possibility that we could extend this knowledge to basically every family on the planet at higher risk with germline mutations is an enormous opportunity, and that'll be about many versus cancer you'll hear about later. 6th question is, what's needed in 2017? Well, we need major moonshot investment from the NCI and the DoD in the basic science of gene function and networks along these inherited genes. We certainly need precision interception, including scientific understanding of the biochemistry, nutrition, the microbiome, and metabolism now. We have real hypotheses about trying to reduce DNA errors in your 20s rather than be diagnosing prostate cancer in your 60s. We have a whole new class of unique treatment targets, including neoantigens, which we heard about. And there's a shared biology, particularly for the civilian scientists and citizen scientists in the office. There's tremendous now synergy and overlap between the fundamentals of breast cancer, ovarian cancer, and prostate cancer carcinogenesis. It's a huge opportunity to bring these 3 communities together. 7th, what's happened in basic science that I think is quite extraordinary? Well, 243 papers have been written in the area of basically the molecular biology of prostate cancer stemness. I'm featuring the NKX 3.1 contribution by Beatty, Shen, and Shen. and of course, John Lee's remarkable contribution on NMIC. But we're in basically 1/3 of the output right now in publications is actually in trying to understand stemness. I think this is a huge opportunity for us. And again, it's going to require a very significant basic science investment to reap this. No quiz on the obsolescent figure on the right, but there are 19 control points of control at this meeting that were not at this meeting last year, except for Wint. Wint had made it. And all 19 of these are a consequence of the meticulous study, again, of critical determinants of death, division, immune evasion, angiogenesis. It's a bumper crop year if you're a basic scientist interested in translation, and it's a bumper crop year if you're a clinical scientist really interested in these processes. The cytokine at the bottom, and a number of cytokines are going to end up forcing us to think about a whole new way of working with the microenvironment, I think, therapeutically. An eighth question I get asked is, what's happened in treatment science? We'll discuss that at our prostate cancer board meeting. Well, we're doubling down on the product of the Robinson and colleagues' genomic landscape with the vision that on the far right, we'll be able to give the right drug to the right patient at the right time against the right target, purple to purple, blue to blue, red pill to red pill, with molecular profiling. And clinicians who understand it, if you contract that into a prescription pad, as we've done for our board of directors right now, there are 17 basically gene target pathways or gene targets on our research prescription pad. And I'd like to point out, for those who can speed read, you have melanoma, colon cancer, pediatric neuroblastoma on here. On the right column are the other cancers which share the same targets of biology and by inference would benefit from accelerating research here. I'd like to point out also that 6 of 17 of these critical pathways in the lethality of prostate cancer still don't even have a first-in-field molecule or therapeutic candidate, let alone a credential candidate. So there's an enormous amount of opportunity, an enormous amount of work, an enormous aspiration of us to partner with biopharma and universities in whole new ways to speed these. We weren't walking around with a research prescription pad like this 3 years ago. And another way of looking at it is those of us engaged in the orange circle on precision gene therapy for prostate cancer will be impacting the lives of cancer patients beyond prostate cancer, because we're at least dealing with 8 other chemotherapy-resistant tumors. And I could have just simply said, if the overlap for melanoma and prostate cancer, you just could put ipilimumab, CTLA-4, and Jim Allison, and you would have actually proven the scientific contribution of 2014 as the molecule and idea of the year. 2016 was extraordinary, too, because it was the year of exceptional responses. I want to spend a minute on this, if I can do it right. In Heidelberg, Germany, and in Portland, Oregon, we saw something that I asked 5 years ago the entire field to be concentrating on, is looking for 5 log, 4 log, 3 log kill. And basically in the left panel, with PMSA 617 linked to actinium-225, which emits 4 alpha particles when it decays, even though its radiation couldn't go through 2 pieces of paper. You see basically clearance in the kidneys, but you see the complete elimination of a super scan, basically in under a year, basically without any management other than injection, in patients who are 1/2 of the way towards the next world in terms of chemotherapy refractory, hormone refractory. And on the right, as we heard in a beautiful talk from Julie Graff, we have patients whose T cells can actually destroy golf ball size metastases in the liver with tolerable toxicity. And this is so important and interesting to understand these exceptional responses that we think 2017 is really going to be a year of research and exceptional response. And I wanted to highlight the chairman of our science committee, Chris Evanson and stalwart science committee members Art Kern, Hank Nordoff, Shmuel Matar, Paul Volante, because they were the investors in the molecular immunology of prostate cancer when we didn't have spontaneous regressions in melanoma. They were the investors looking after donor money for an intense assault on PMSA, every possible approach to chemistry. And it's really this committee, which has members for 15 years now, that Howard staffs, that really ought to get a round of applause. So if you would indulge me for a moment. So what do I think the major challenge award, Foci, for challenge award applications might be? Well, again, biodetectors of lethal versus indolent prostate cancer, exceptional, three log responder research, exceptional responders and their molecular characterization. A new field of quantitative and predictive immunotherapy models in man and mouse. We an intense interest in the malignant prostate cancer stemness and its interception, including with the microenvironment. And again, new classes of first-in-field treatment molecules and effectors, and they can include radionucleotides, radiopharmacy, they can include T cells, antibodies, and small molecules. 10th question is, what happened in 2016 with the Moonshot? Well, we formed a partnership with the VA, with Vice President Biden and Secretary McDonald. We'll be talking more about this, but it's the right genetic medicine at the right time for the patient that served our country who has prostate cancer. And in fact, although this is a kind of a busy slide, you cannot see all 788 outpatient clinics and 143 hospitals in the United States of America where prostate cancer patients are cared for, but we know where they are, and prostate cancer is the #1 cancer in the VA. And we have this new partnership really to deliver translational science, but open the doors fundamentally to accelerate getting answers by allowing veterans to participate. And I want to congratulate and thank actually Matt Reddick and Bruce Montgomery for co-chairing this with us. And this infusion of talent and resources then to lever as we leverage everything else, we believe will be a model for how all precision oncology is actually executed in the VA, with the PCF truly being a model. And the 11th question is, what happened to our field over the last 10 years? If you plotted NCI investment in the red and publications on PubMed for prostate cancer on the blue. And what you see, first of all, is that the 9/11 effect was catastrophic in terms of the redirection to biodefense. And then you see, of course, the effect of the recession. But what you don't see, actually, is that there was another checkpoint inhibitor, which was a $350 million investment between really 9/11 and through the Great Recession to this entire community, which is now over 5,000 researchers. It simply catapulted our field forward in the face of really an unprecedented net reduction in innovation research. And in order to basically keep the trajectory upward, Mike will be talking and giving you a math proof about many versus cancer. But we're launching a microfinancing program with you, we hope, every one of you as participants in the microfinancing of a significant increase in support of this trajectory. Many versus cancer, in a way, you could start to see as not just a checkpoint, basically not just a checkpoint inhibitor, but actually the booster. So many versus cancer is PCF because, as I said, the value proposition fundamentally is if you support us, now you're supporting game-changing breast cancer research, ovarian cancer research, pediatric oncology research, melanoma research. And this community is as entrepreneurial and as interested in solving the entire cancer problem as any. And lastly, about microfinancing the enterprise for the future. Social media allows us in a way that you could never have predicted to simply disseminate new medical knowledge. And we're going to use Many versus Cancer as basically as a digital health platform for patients and nurses and physicians, but completely branded and actually editorially controlled by the PCF. We won't be spamming, but we will be informing. So we are you, and the last question, 12th question is, what can you do for PCF? Well, first, you can join STAT, Many versus Cancer, and certainly before you leave. Second, encourage researchers and patients and families to join Many versus Cancer. Go to the new PCF website. It's only 4 days old. And keep returning. Enlist new young investigators for 2017. Apply for 2017 Challenge Awards. Recruit world-class investigators in other cancer disciplines to PCF land. We still have not had our best day yet with people like Yvonne Borrello, just to pick on one exceptional young investigator who turned into a great senior faculty member at Hopkins. We could use so many more in our field, working in our field, because our field is so interesting and vibrant. Share hot unpublished data with Santa Monica if it could speed progress, and that means email us. And of course, answer Howard's emails, please. Apprise us when you invent, what you invent, and when you start up. Tell us how to improve the 24th annual retreat based on this one. And finally, accept our thanks on how PCF, you, our family, is curing together, and that is you. So our new tagline is curing together, and I looked at the etymology of this word, and it's pretty interesting. It shows up in English in about 1550 as together, if you were with Shakespeare, or that's how he would have pronounced it probably. But it's really old. It's actually Proto-Indo-European, so it's kind of like a codon that's never been mutated in terms of human language, and it's gudu in the together. But it's to keep or to come or bring or unite. But it also is the word root of fellowship and companionship and companion. So there's a sense of bondedness and trust. So I want to thank you on behalf of our entire PCF staff and Michael Milken and the board for you and for uniting in a PCF companionship to bring forward your research that ends prostate cancer. Thank you very much.